A perfect late May night, shattered by the kind of crime Southlake just doesn't see.
Very shocked, very surprised for Southlake.
Police got the call at 6:48 p.m. A white SUV had pulled into the iconic town square. The passenger got out and fired at least 5 shots at a maroon Range Rover with a man and woman inside.
We do have reports that one of the Hispanic males was wearing a mask at the time of the shooting. I haven't been able to verify that yet, but we've had multiple witnesses say the same thing.
The 43-year-old father in the Range Rover died at a hospital. His wife was not hit. The suspects sped away.
I don't want to speculate on the motivation of the suspects, but with everything that we're receiving, this is not a random shooting. This is something that was a targeted incident.
Gunfire in the middle of a quaint shopping center at the same spot where this mom was minutes before.
We had just been at the fountain tossing pennies, letting my children run across the grass. Sorry.
Well, Ron, the police here in Southlake are working with the FBI, the DEA, as well as Homeland Security to investigate this murder that happened in the middle of the evening here. The chief said that the shooting that played out was, quote, well orchestrated. The victim was a 43-year-old man. He was sitting in the passenger seat of a Range Rover. It was parked in front of the Banana Republic here. And according to police, the suspects were in a white SUV. They drove up, got out. Witnesses said one of them was wearing a mask, and they opened fire. Police said as many as 5 shots were fired. The victim was hit multiple times. He was later pronounced dead at an area hospital. His wife was in the driver's seat of that SUV, but was uninjured. The suspects have not been seen since. And while police have said that the shooting that happened here was not a random act of violence, it would seem that that information has done only very little to allay concerns among residents we've spoken with.
When we pulled up and saw the cops, I thought maybe, saw it all taped off, I thought, well, maybe somebody got hit in the crosswalk or something like that. I never would have thought it was a shooting.
I could not believe it. Like, you think, you know, this is a safe area and there's like kids walking around, and I could not believe it that something like that could happen in, you know, out of all places in Southlake Town Center, just because it's so family oriented. So it was scary.
And something else she said is that she hopes that this won't change the way people feel about Southlake, but certainly she will be more cautious when she is out. The Dallas Morning News actually ranked this area as #1 among the area's top suburban neighborhoods. A news conference is expected to happen today at 2:30. That's when the police chief is expected to release more information about the murder investigation. Reporting from Southlake, Marcus Moore, Channel 8 News.
Juan Jesus Guerrero Chapa had been living in an upper-crust Southlake neighborhood like this one with his family, including 3 children and a wife, for about 2 years, by all accounts, quietly.
I have no information to indicate that he was in hiding or anything like that.
But the Land Rover he was shot in last night is registered to an Armando Guerrero Chapa with a P.O. box in Plano. And police haven't even been able to find out what exactly he did here locally for these past 2 years as an occupation, or why the family was living here at all of which raises more questions.
You would never think something like that would happen here, you know.
When gunfire rang out Wednesday night in the Southlake Town Center, many onlookers no doubt wondered why, and now we're finding out a little bit more about the target.
He had his own private business in Mexico. And at some point he practiced law both in Mexico and may have some affiliation with a law firm in South Texas.
According to an online bio of the 43-year-old, he helped run a family cattle operation south of the border, which specialized in breeding and bulls. But News 8 sources say the likely reason for his killing was his legal work linked to powerful Mexican drug cartels. The Southlake chief wouldn't confirm that publicly this afternoon, but did say they're working with federal agencies and admitted the killing was certainly not random.
By all indication, this was, like I said, a well-orchestrated, deliberate act focusing on a specific target.
There hasn't been a murder in the quiet and affluent town of Southlake since 1999. Last night, as shoppers watched in disbelief, a gunman climbed out of the back of an SUV and opened fire in the middle of town square. Anum Avia just missed seeing the shooting.
I was shopping in, and that's what was really scary. Like if I had been here like 10 minutes longer, you know, I could have have seen it, I could have been part of it, and that's what's just really scary.
The police, she says, the suspects pulled up behind this Range Rover just as the victim, Juan Jesus Guerrero-Chapa, and his wife had finished shopping. He was sitting in the passenger seat as she was loading packages in the back of the SUV.
And the suspect vehicle, a newer model white SUV, pulled in behind the victim's vehicle, and a rear passenger exited the suspect vehicle and discharged multiple rounds into the victim's vehicle, striking Mr. Guerrero-Chapa numerous times.
This is surveillance video that captured the SUV involved in the shooting. Police sources say the victim has ties to drug cartels and was working as an attorney for them.
When you're dealing with individuals that operate on such a professional level, certainly caution forces me to have to lean towards that this is an organized criminal activity act.
And they were brazen. There were police officers half a block away from the shooting and were at the scene in seconds. The chief stressed that Guerrero-Chapa was a target and that the suspects are out of the area. He wants to assure the citizens of Southlake they're safe.
The chaos has cleared. Disbelief has not.
It's been on the news. I've heard about the cartels coming in, but never thought in Southlake, of all places.
Juan Jesus Guerrero-Chapa was shot in Southlake Town Square. This photo is from a 2011 arrest in Miami. It comes from the website bustedmugshots.com. Police say Guerrero-Chapa was an attorney in Mexico. Sources say he worked for a drug cartel, and Wednesday's shooting was a targeted hit.
Obviously, the nature of this homicide, the way it was carried out, indicates, and I say indicates, an organization that is trained to do this type of activity.
Websites which appear to belong to Guerrero-Chapa show he had a ranching business in Mexico. Police say he came to Southlake 2 years ago and was in the country legally, but his current immigration status is unclear. These photos show what's believed to be the suspect's car, a white SUV with at least 2 people inside. At 6:47 Wednesday night, it pulled up behind the victim's Range Rover. A man with a partially covered face fired 9 shots at the passenger side where Guerrero-Chapa was sitting. Within seconds, the shooter was back in the SUV, and by 6:48, the SUV was gone.
Even though it's targeted, it's still scary because it can still affect any of us. Anybody could have been hit.
Police are now watching over Guerrero-Chapa's wife and 3 children. Teresa Woodard, Channel 8 News.
Security is rarely so robust at federal court in Fort Worth. Many federal police officers patrolled inside and out, including the acting U.S. Marshal in North Texas. No cameras or even cell phones are ever allowed inside the courthouse. The judge told potential jurors that for their protection, he would keep their names secret even from lawyers. An unnerving start to the trial of 2 men accused of tracking a drug cartel lawyer so hitmen could murder him. Juan Guerrero-Chapa died in a barrage of bullets while shopping with his wife at Southlake Town Square. A defense attorney described him as the de facto head of the Gulf cartel. According to court documents, Jesus Gerardo Ledesma Cepeda and his cousin, Jose Luis Cepeda Cortez, used GPS tracking devices and surveillance cameras to set the trap. A son of one of the defendants, who was also arrested, will testify for the government. Federal prosecutors plan to call about 30 witnesses, including top FBI experts on computer forensics and cybercrimes. Defense attorneys want to call the former leader of the Gulf cartel. He's in U.S. federal prison after cutting a plea deal. The trial could take a month. Several potential jurors told the judge that would be hard for them to do. Jim Douglas, Channel 8 News.
Over the past 2 weeks inside this Fort Worth courthouse, where cameras aren't allowed, a trial played out that even seasoned attorneys say was like a movie.
It involved 2 countries. It involved drug cartels, narco-terrorists, danger beyond imagination.
It was the trial for Jesus Ledesma Cepeda on the right and Jose Cepeda Cortez on the left, both now convicted of stalking Southlake cartel lawyer and U.S. government informant Juan Jesus Guerrero-Chapa. Chapa was eventually shot to death in 2013 in a very public parking lot at the Southlake Town Center.
It's real life. It happens in the United States. The drug cartels in the Metroplex.
Both Warren St. John and Wes Ball represented Ledesma Cepeda, a talented Mexican private eye who they say was ordered by the cartel to come to Southlake and track down Chapa.
He was told in a tire shop in Monterrey, Mexico, hanging on the wall was a chainsaw with blood on it.
Ball says his client knew the stalking would likely lead to Chapa's death, but his defense was duress, that he had no choice.
He was basically forced to do that because his family had been threatened to be killed by Gato.
And so, to be clear, your client has not denied doing any of this stuff?
Absolutely not. He said, I tracked the guy, I was here, I went here, I was watching his house.
Neither suspect actually killed Chapa, but they were also convicted of conspiracy to commit murder for hire. Chapa's killer still has not been found. In Fort Worth, Lauren Zakalik, Channel 8 News.